Record in the cloud?
Yes.
Okay.
So good morning, everyone. It's August 9th. What what is it? What day is it? And what are we doing here? And
We're on the ocean, as you can tell,
yes,
unless we move real quick.
we decided to go to the ocean. It was so beautiful yesterday. We decided to continue it today. And so we welcome all of you. We're going to be talking today about who do you think you are? Uh, because some things have come to light that we've watched in the media that remind us how important it is, who and what we think we are. But I'm going to begin with an opening idea written by Ernest Holmes, and it also is about who we are. So he says the Chinese sage said that Tao, meaning spirit, produces everything, nourishes everything, and maintains everything. It flows through and is in all things, being all that is. There's nothing outside it. There is a spiritual presence pervading the universe, welling up in your consciousness, always proclaiming itself to be the source of your being. The enlightened ones of the ages have told you that your recognition of life of God within you, recognizing itself in everything you do. So I invite you to say along with me. I know there is one mind, one spirit, one body, the mind, the spirit, and the body of God, the universal wholeness, the ever-present good, the all-sustaining life. Every organ, every function, every action and reaction of my body is in harmony with the divine creative spirit. I could not ask for more, and greater could not be given. I now seek to realize the significance of this one mind and this one body. I now become aware that the one mind is acting through my body in accord with its own divine perfection, peace, and harmony. The divine circulates through me automatically, freely. Every atom of my being is animated by its action. I know that at all times I have a silent, invisible partner walking with me, talking with me, operating through me. Continuously, I keep my mind open to its guidance, to its inspiration and illumination. And so it is.
That's beautiful.
I wanted to share that because, it's been coming into our awareness that so many people are finding themselves unhappy or in unhappy situations. And this idea of who we think we are is critical to how we feel in various situations, particularly in situations where we might feel victimized by circumstances. And I was trying to remember how I felt before I came into this awareness. And I know I, like so many of you, when I heard it, recognized it immediately. I go, oh, yes, that's the truth. That's the truth I've been seeking. Because, ideas I had been introduced to before, like with my religion of childhood, was that we were created by God, and that by itself is very important. If you're created by a God, an all good being, that must mean that you have some good in you also. Although then we were taught we were miserable sinners. Would probably never get to actually be near God. But still, the idea that you were created by a God was I think a good thing. And I'm contrasting that with so many people today who seem to have decided that the idea of God was oh, well, that's an idea we let go of. We realize that was just superstition. We don't do that anymore. And the effect that that's having on people, because then it affects their self-worth. Who are they? What is their value if they're nothing more than an accident of evolution? And, there's nothing to support them in life. There's no inherent value in them. They are just an accidental evolution. And it's up to them. They've got to struggle on their own to make their way on their own through life. And that can be quite a burden for them.
Yeah, I think this seems to be not only a time of separation from people that we normally would connect with, but a separation even from self, in the sense of being connected to the greater self. And that separation causes enormous loneliness, and I think sadness, and for many even profound depression. So being separate from the source of our being, from that which created us, is probably the most serious isolation I think that we can experience in our lives. So I think it's an astute point. And we watched a series, or we watched a program the other day. I don't know what it was. Oh, it was on athletes, Olympic athletes. And I wanted to turn it back to you because
Right.
your observations were so good.
This was a program, and I can't remember
It was an
and
HBO
where.
special. It was an HBO special. Yeah.
It was about Olympic gold medal winners, specifically gold medal winners, who, after having won their gold medals at the end of their careers, or sometimes even in between, every 4 years, in between that period, they would enter into profound depression, even suicidal. And there must have been 10 or 12 of these individuals that were in this special, sharing their own experience and their own aloneness in this profound sense of depression and suicidality once they no longer had that goal to win a gold medal. Their identity, their whole identity was, I am a potential gold medal winner. And all their focus was on winning that gold medal. And then when they got it, or in the case of the swimmer, whose name I wrote down here, now it's gone.
Who won 28 gold medals, or 28?
28 in his
medals,
career, 28 Olympic medals.
Was that Michael Phelps?
Thank you, Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael Phelps. And yet dealing with profound depression, and he's got a wife and 2 kids, and
He's tall, he's good looking.
Lots of reasons to feel good. So I was like, what is that all about? Besides this identity, and I have no idea what their spiritual beliefs are, but I also was just noticing a part in the book, Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. He talks about this convergent focus versus divergent focus. And all of these athletes identified themselves as tight focused individuals. Their focus was very, very specific to win that medal, and practice and practice and practice and practice that ability until they won the gold medal. And we're talking about everything from runners to bobsled, what do they call those, toboggan runners, to swimmers, and even also Shaun White, the snowboarder, that we enjoyed watching. All of them experienced suicidality, and some of them have committed suicide. And the only thing that they said that they wished is that they had some counseling support through this process, a couple of times a week, someone to talk to. But I was wondering, really, if that focus, which Joe Dispenza says, the focused energy has your brain waves being incoherent. When you're incoherent, you don't feel very good. You don't feel very empowered. And that this open focus, which he has you do by focusing on space around your body. Now, who can focus on space? There's nothing to focus on. It's amorphous and it's everywhere. And he said this is a technique that the Buddhists have used for years in meditation. But when you do this divergent focus, the brain comes into synchronicity. And when your brain is synchronous, it means all the different parts of it are in the same frequency. You feel like there's great purpose to life, you're happy to be alive, and all is well in the world. So I couldn't help wondering if all that single-minded focusedness could cause that kind of result.
Well, and I think the single-mindedness is necessary to achieve a goal.
Right.
But the problem is it also can isolate and insulate you from the experience of witness or connectedness. One of the things that I know riding on a motorcycle is that you don't look directly ahead of you, you look down the road. And the further down the road you go, the more connected you are to the road that's in front of you. And when you get very, very close to, you just look, a couple of feet ahead of you, the bike doesn't do what you want it to do. You need a larger view, a grander view, a bigger view. You need to be included in the worldview. I think the separation and isolation is a really profound problem that can be missed, because as we get better at something and get closer to a goal, we get celebrated for that and not for our connectedness or for our inherent value. And so one of the things that each of the persons was talking about in the program was their sense of disconnectedness, their sense of having no value. They all felt like objects in somebody else's game plan, not people alive and well and offering something, so that even winning, they won a medal the way a machine might accomplish a goal rather than a person. So I think it's really critical that we not lose our personhood in all of this.
I'd like to say a little bit more about that. Yeah, my first explanation of why they would feel so depressed is that their identity was a gold medal winner. And then after they, let's say they're done winning medals, what are they going to do with the rest of their life? If they don't have another kind of identity, you're like, I'm a child of God. That's an identity that has inherent worth in it. But if you're nothing but a human doing, basically they were human doings, and they lost their human beingness value. And I'm not saying it's a simple fix, because if they have decades of that kind of focus and practice, it might take more than just a simple redefinition of who I am to help it. But definitely we can see the error of it, because it's just feeling suicidal is not normal. And I know that we are experiencing more and more of this with our youth and others. And I do think that going back to who do you think you are is really critical with that. Because who you are is not what kids think of you and whether you're popular or not. If you have an inherent value, if you believe, as Ernest says, that there is a presence that walks with you and talks with you and guides you, and add to that you're always creating something in your life, you can never stop creating. You can never stop creating. You're always, like even now when we can't go out very much or do very many things, we're busy creating here. And so that keeps you busy and feeling at least a little bit of value and creative.
I'm going to make a shift here. I don't normally do this, but I had a dream last night, and it was an incredible dream. I woke up this morning with the tail end of it. I was being shown a lot of different things in this dream. There were a bunch of different people that were telling me things and explaining things to me that I woke up thinking, oh my God, this is an incredible dream. In the dream, what I was experiencing was the past that we call the past, and I typically think of the past as something that's fixed, was not fixed. It was a body of almost like packaged energy. It looked like a cupboard, a spice cupboard. And every past experience was a spice that you could use if you wanted to. And the present was not a fixed thing either, nor was the future. But what I saw in the dream experience was that all three of them were active, and every one of them was currently being moved and changed with every thought that I had. And this took me back, I think after the precursor to the dream was the movie Groundhog Day. And in the movie Groundhog Day, what you're confronted with, or what the protagonist is confronted with, is every day will be the same. But what the protagonist does after he gives up the idea that he's going to kill himself because he can't stand it anymore, because he won't die, he decides to engage the day. Now, the fixed day is only fixed in appearance. It's not actually fixed in time and space, because every day that he moves through the day differently, he has different experiences. which means that he creates a different future for himself. But he also borrows from the past experiences and changes them as well. So the past is a fluid thing, the future is a fluid thing, and the present, however fixed it may seem to be, is just as fluid. And what I saw in the dream was that all three were dimensions of time and space that were active and alive and interchangeable. And I guess what really blew me away this morning when Judith and I were talking over coffee, and I hadn't even thought of it, is yesterday afternoon, late in the afternoon, well, it was around 6, I went outside to see if my new friend, the squirrel, was available and to meet, because I've just recently become acquainted with him. And I took out some walnuts and I saw him. And so I went over and I started feeding him some walnuts, and he grabbed each one of them and ate them completely. And while he was eating the walnuts, I also noticed that a rat came out from behind the tree and looked around to see if there's anything for him. And then an anole lizard climbed up the branch of the same tree. And then within a few minutes, the squirrel suddenly dashed away, and a beautiful hawk came flying by. He was obviously hoping to get the squirrel. And I came in and I was probably as positive and as happy as I had been in the last year. And I thought, isn't it interesting? This experience may be this happy. But then I realized this morning that I hadn't realized before. I had a rat that I named when I was 16 and trapped and took to the dump to let go so that my parents wouldn't kill him. I had a squirrel that was my pet squirrel that I fed when we lived in a hotel and we had nothing else to do, no entertainment, and we didn't even have food. I was fed him slices of Wonder Bread that I would steal from the loaf of bread that my mother didn't know I was stealing. And I had a python and a Burmese python, and I had a variety of reptiles that I was keeping for people until I could find homes for them. I had all of that, and all of those things were powerful and wonderful, meaningful experiences for me. And in one sitting, in 5 minutes, all of those memories were borrowed from, but I didn't think of any of them. In other words, the energy from all of the past is what infused itself into my experience. We're constantly having an opportunity to have an experience and then to be able to borrow the energetic strength of that energy from our past. We're able to borrow from the history that we have from all kinds of places. And what was so powerful, and I think is so important, is to realize we are creating right now in this moment the possibility of more than we've ever imagined, because we can borrow from the past, we can even borrow from the future that we're creating and have the most profound experience right now. And I think we're missing out very often by thinking that our world is very small. The world that we're living in is too small for us. It isn't. And not only that, but imagine that not only was I borrowing from the memories of past experiences and the emotional charge that comes from the love and the affection that I had for these creatures, but what if I've actually been here more than one lifetime, and I'm actually borrowing from lifetimes of experience? And what if all of that is in the pot being stirred all of the time, and I can borrow from all of that? So who am I? So much more than I imagined, coming from so much more history than I had ever thought possible. And do we sell ourselves short by thinking ourselves small in the moment?
Exactly, that idea of reincarnation, and it's one that is an individual one. It's not one that our organization espouses, but we certainly believe in it. And it just makes so much sense. And also, if you believe that you were an eternal being gathering experiences in different formats, different times, different countries, different roles that you've played, that just makes you an infinite being that's always gathering more and more knowledge, more experience. But why in the world would you ever consider snuffing that out? Because you came here for this experience, for this journey, to learn from it, to become more for it. And how does that affect how you consider yourself and your life this time? If it's one building block and a whole series of building blocks for you to become a greater consciousness than you are now. I think those are very exciting ideas and very important ways to think about ourselves that are unlimited, you know.
But I think if we could allow ourselves to engage more in the moment that we're experiencing rather than our assessment of it or our judgment of the conditions, it's very easy to look out and say, you know, God, I wish we could go
Things
out
are
more, or I
awful.
wish we could do more, or so and so. You know, when I guess I needed to spend time with a squirrel to find me. I needed to see the hawk in order to remember that hawks have always been a very beautiful creature in my life.
And they're still there.
And they're still there. Yeah, and there's the hawk in my past is in my present. The squirrel of my past is currently alive and well. We have a chance to embrace so much more and also to connect with our inner greater knowing. I know from experiences that I've had that I've been here before, but it's hard sometimes to feel confident enough in that to borrow the wisdom that comes from that experience as well. And there's so much wisdom that we have from so many lifetimes and so many different experiences that we can borrow from. If we'll say yes to the world being bigger than the world that we have appearing in front of us.
Yes, so we brought the beach with us this morning. We went to the beach yesterday. We actually did find a couple of spots just like this that were free of all that seaweed that's with us all summer now, that I could go and enjoy swimming in relatively clear water. And so it brought so much joy to me just, you know, to spend a few hours of the day doing that. And so I really want to encourage all of you to do what you can do, you know. Sometimes I walk around in this building we're in and people are all behind their doors and everybody here is very much into social distancing. So while I have a next door neighbor that I really like a lot and I wish I could spend more time getting to know, I look at her shut door and I think, no, probably she would consider it a breach of social distance if I said, let's get together. So there is that constant reminder that things aren't as they were. And we have to, our chances to socialize are more limited, but we can still do what we can do. You see our loved ones as we can, and remember the truth of who we are. And you know, this, when we really know who we are, we can also actually be saying, how can I give to this situation? How can I contribute to this situation instead of why can't I get more of what I want?
Well, just imagine this week, maybe if you can, that you just discovered that you have a rich past that you'd forgotten. Imagine that you have a wealth of history that people who would have spent years and years hoping to gather that you already have, and that you're about to unlock the door to that and about to discover that. And imagine every day when you do things that everything that you do is connected to more of you than you suspected. I'd like you, if you could this week, to be a detective in favor of finding the greatness of your own life, the greatness of your own being, and to discover, notice how strongly you feel about things that don't seem to be worthy of that amount of feeling. And ask yourself, does that come from my history? Does that come from places that I maybe never explored? If we're willing to open up our world, our inner world, we can embrace the outer world in a way we haven't embraced it in the past. And I think that's important.
Yeah. So we know who you are. And for those of you who have joined us in the past year or the past few months, I would love to hear from you. And when we chat afterwards, maybe you can share with us what this did for you to come into this teaching and have this expanded idea of who you are. You know, that you are a creation of and a part of the one great creator of all life, and you have infinite potential and possibilities for your life. And I know I used to like to just come and just be in that presence. It just felt wonderful. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, and the organization that we're a part of, that we're connected to, that we're proud to be a part of, is CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, Palm Beaches. And this is also, we have a website. You can go to that website, and if you go to that website, you can then Is it? Oh, okay. Sometimes it's backwards. You can go to our website, and if you want to make a donation to support the work that we're doing, not only on Sunday, but during the week. And this is our ministry. So any way you can support us, we appreciate.
So we're,
And
yes, let's end. Shall we end with a,
Sure.
let's end with a closing affirmative prayer. As we go within to that center of our being, we know that it is always filled. It is always filled with the energy of the Creator. For we are an extension of it, a part of it, cannot be separated from it because it is all that is. And as all that is, it includes all of creation. So we know that as a human being, we are endowed with wonderful systems and organs and brains that are allowed to work with this energy to create our experience. And so we become co-creators with the infinite. And we co-create what it is we focus on, what it is we consider possible, what it is we would like to experience and do. And we notice as we see these things unfold, we give great thanks. We give great thanks for this God-given gift that we may evolve consciously and become even greater co-creators, co-meaning with, creating with God. So we celebrate this day, we celebrate the truth of who we are. We are one with the divine. We release, we give thanks, and together we say, and so it is.
So it is.
Excuse me just a second. Oh, doing that, okay. Let me put my glasses on. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful.